I know you got to hang out in the green room with the amazing Jill Leberknight, who I know you know.
Yes. Yes.
So Jill is here in my hometown of Austin, Texas, the good old ATX, and
Right.
she's going to come on and we're going to talk about the listing side of these NAR changes, because that's something that we really haven't, as an industry, fully settled on just yet. So we're still in flux, but Jill's going to be sharing about what she's seeing and how she's approaching it.
That is fantastic. All right. So, hey, I'm going to get out of the way, let you guys take it away. Welcome in here, Jill Leberknight. I'll see you in a couple minutes.
All right, man. See you in a bit. Jill, are you there with me? Hey, how are you
Hello
doing?
there. Man, I've just been buzzing with all this creativity that I love seeing everyone exchange here at EXP. Chief
Yeah.
Learning Officer. I mean, that's a title, man. I live with that curiosity of learning every day. So love this and love
Are
to
you
be
kidding me?
here.
I want your title. First off, holistic realtor, yes, but also real estate doula is another one, right? And I absolutely love that. Now, I feel like you should be here with me in my office, or I should be there with you. But unfortunately, I live in, basically northern Mexico, and you live in southern Oklahoma, two opposite sides
Yes.
of the city here. But thank you so much for making time for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Always. So we were talking about this NAR settlement thing, right? And a lot of us have focused on the buy side of things, and a lot of that is because that's been the biggest change,
Mhm.
and also that's been the most concrete in terms of what to do. The sell side of things is still a little bit nebulous. Before we jump in, though, do you want to tell everybody about yourself and your business? I'm remiss in not letting you kind of share a little bit about your bona fides, because you are an amazing realtor and an amazing asset in EXP.
Oh, well, thank you. I was thinking as I was preparing to visit some more with you today, that some of the things that we're going to talk about today and my unique approach to the listing presentation and the listing consultation developed during a last shifting market in Austin when we were coming out of a buyer's market and into what became sort of one of the biggest booms in Austin's history.
Yeah.
And I really kind of tuned in to what the needs of the sellers were at the time and developed this approach that we're going to talk about today. But I'm a former high school teacher, classically trained actor, singer, dancer in the theater world. But I sort of evolved and discovered real estate and discovered how I could unleash my creativity in a way that really suited me and all of the passions and curiosities that I have. Sometimes clients like to call me their best Girl Scout guide. I do call myself a real estate doula, because my holistic approach is very customer centric, very consultative. And it really grew out of me taking some quality time, in the learning, because I love learning. And in my previous brokerage, and when I came into real estate, there was a tried and true old school approach of door knocking, cold calling, get agreements and documents, contracts signed quickly, and a little bit more hard sell approach. And every fiber of my being was saying, this is not me. And I spent quality time really daydreaming about, who do I want to be? How do I want to build this business? And this holistic approach has sort of been sort of the answer, the evolution of that question that has been growing and living within me on a daily basis. And
Yeah.
it's very, custom. It is holistic and looking at the whole picture of the family, of the client, of the individual, and what their goals are. It's goal oriented.
Yeah. And I think of you, you are an example of this kind of concept as newer agents. By the way, newer agents watching this, we all get out of real estate school, right? And there's a stark reality that hits us in the face that we were not prepared for from real estate school. We know how to fill out contracts, we know principles 1 and 2 and all that other great stuff. But the reality of the business kind of hits us in the face. And there's this kind of perception that you go, hello world, I'm a real estate agent. And then everybody's going to go, oh, well, thank God. and show up. That's not the case, right? And so we always talk about niche to get rich, and the fear that people have is, well, if I niche, then I'm going to limit my audience, and that's certainly not been the case for you. And you have tailored your approach to your market, and been very successful in doing that.
Yeah, one of the things that people talk about the different secret sauce of EXP. For me, it was EXP University. That was truly the thing that led me to want to be a part of this family and community. And I was one of the first, along with Elizabeth Riley, one of the first appointed agent faculty that participated and taught in EXP University. And so I've taught my tribe marketing class for years in the ICON University. And a lot of what I have built and grown has come out of a place of really knowing what my strengths were and how I wanted to unleash my passion. And I'm community service oriented. So I taught. I went out into my community, since I have a comfort with speaking and teaching, and I taught. And I connected with the different tribes in my community and built it that way, which I always tell new agents, kind of like, know what your strengths are. Know how you just naturally enjoy engaging with the world and the people around you.
This is the coolest business there is, because really what we do for a living, aside from helping people buy a home or sell a home, is make friends and help them, right? That's a cool job to have. And you can make a lot more money than in being a teacher. I know Travis High School, by the way, English. I don't think we talked about this. We'll have to have coffee and talk some war stories.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay.
So let's jump in on the listing side of things. And first, let's start with kind of high level structure, so folks can follow along in our conversation here. Let's talk about your listing appointment, because you do a multi-step listing appointment, right?
Yeah.
The idea of a one and done listing appointment, where you pull comps, you come up with price range that you think is going to be appropriate to consult with your client on, to let them choose from. You go there, you do the tour, you sit down at the kitchen table, you present your value, you present the listing agreement, you walk through the pricing structure and all that. That's not how you do it. So give us high level, what's the structure of your multi-step there?
Absolutely. It's a little bit of a 1-2 punch. I do the classic research that we all do before we go into a listing appointment, to better understand the house, the neighborhood, the comps, the market, any little details that the clients may have given me prior to going to that visit. But the actual in-person consultation is very much about getting to know the people, rooting the relationship, ensuring that I establish trust. One of the things, I've been doing real estate almost 20 years, and one of the things that I learned early on is that if there is not trust in that relationship, that's not going to sustain you during the long haul. When some of these systems started to develop, we were in a little bit of we were in a buyer's market. We're going through the mortgage meltdown. That's when my business was really evolving and growing. And there was a lot of stress in that market at the time. And what I needed to have their confidence in me and our ability to work together. So the first part, the in-person consultation, is very much developing rapport, developing relationship, rooting it in establishing trust. Going into the house, sitting down, I always ask them the question, tell me a little bit about what's going on, so that I give them an opportunity to just tell me what's going on, so I can begin teaching them that I'm a good listener. That's really important to me. I want them to know that I can listen to them, because I have learned and I know how important it is for people to get their feelings and their thoughts off their chest and to feel like they had an opportunity to be heard. So I get them talking. I get them describing what they're trying to do. I'm taking notes. Sometimes I'm just full on engaged and listening. And then we get up. Okay, let's show me the house. And then we do the classic walk through the home. And that second phase of the in-person visit is them showing me, the issues and the problems about the house. And then I have an opportunity to tell stories and tell them how I know about this and how I've served people in this way. And I'm dropping, a lot of, experiences and stories and expertise, where I'm showing them that I have a lot of wisdom to bring to their situation and the transition that they're facing. And that experience, walking through the house might take an hour, but it's an opportunity again to build rapport, build relationship. We might see art, or they might have opportunities to tell me about the different things that they do in their home, how they live in their home, how they engage with their family or their friends or their community, and what they're looking for in their transition or relocation. Again, it's all opportunities to show them that I'm listening, that I care, that I have ideas and options, that I'm already spinning creative wheels about what they could do. Now, as we're going through the house, I am talking about and beginning to teach them about my custom pricing and marketing report, which is the second part of the 1-2 punch that I talked about, because that's something that I deliver after our visit.
This is the part 2. You don't even get into that at the initial listing appointment.
No, not at all. Well, a little bit. I come prepared to talk about pricing, because let's be honest, every seller is going to ask the question, if you had to price the home today, or what price, they want to hear some numbers. So I come with some structure, but I want to intimately know the house. And what I tell new agents that I teach my process to is that I personally, Agent Jill, I don't believe that the best way for me to serve the client is to give them an answer on the pricing of their home that day. I don't believe that best serves them. I believe what they need is to be shown that I'm going to take quality time to give their home the best chance and the full force of my creativity. And that requires me being truly present with them in the home, discovering the home, and then going back and reevaluating the comps, reevaluating the market, and coming up with a marketing plan that really puts the best foot forward in terms of what they're trying to accomplish. And I don't give a one option. My pricing and marketing plan is going to be a three option approach, which I'll talk about. But we're going through the house, and I'm telling agents when I'm teaching this that, again, it is about building rapport, strengthening relationships, showing them that I am listening, and then giving them an opportunity to be heard. Once we go through the house, we come back down and we sit down. And we talk at the table, or the living room, or the porch, or the back playroom, or media room, and I give them a little bit of a sense. Okay, now that we visited, I want them to see that I'm quickly able to communicate what I think are maybe some high level, big picture things that we should focus on. And then I start coming back into talking about goals. And we've been talking about that as we've been walking through the house. But I will come back to some goal setting. Here is my observation of some key important things that we're going to need to address in the home. And then as we sit down, I'm going to give them sort of the classic market overview, some thoughts about pricing, what statistically, analytically, numbers are displaying and presenting for the neighborhood and homes like theirs. So I am equipped. I want to make sure people know before I come into that meeting, I am equipped with, what if the home is in the best shape it could possibly be in? What are those homes selling for? I know what the high level is. I know what the low level is. I know what the obstacles are in the neighborhood. And I start to begin to weave that education in to the conversation. And the new thing that I'm starting to weave in after I go over some high level thoughts and opinions and reactions to our visit, and some ideas that I have, is I ask them, I want to give you a little bit of an update on what's going on in the Austin market right now and really in our national market. I don't know how familiar you are with recent lawsuit settlement changes, the legal activities that have been happening in the real estate industry. And then I give them an opportunity to let me know how familiar they are or are not with what's going on. And this has been really, really interesting for me when I've been posing this question and asking this question, because more people have been familiar with it than I expected.
Yeah.
And more sellers have shown me in this moment the misinformation that they are
Yeah.
holding, the
That's
narratives.
the unfortunate thing, isn't it? Is that the media is talking about it and they're listening to it, but the media is talking about it in a way that sells papers and sells ads for commercials and doesn't necessarily position real estate agents in the best light. And it is, to your point, misinformation, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm really grateful between my local association, the Austin Board of Realtors, and EXP. I've been well armed. I have a good foundation of understanding of what's going on. And so I will improv in that moment, do a little improvisation and adjust based on what they're sharing with me and where they are in their level of understanding, how much I want to kind of dig down into that. What I've been sensing is that, like everything in the work that we do, it's a multi-layered education process. And so at the listing consultation, I just try to deliver some fundamentals. And I know that I'm going to have to come back in, pardon me, come back in and continue to remind them and fill in some layers of understanding. So I focus on that, the goal of transparency in the process. And I'm developing new language, new scripts, new stories that we're just trying to make sure that the seller is at the center of all decision making, and that we now have some more levers to pull in the process, and to ensure that you have decisions that you and I are in alignment and clear in our goals and our decisions in the process. Go ahead.
Because I want to dive into there, but before I do, I want to kind of point out a few things, especially for newer agents listening, about some of the things that you just talked about. First, the whole idea of doing a multi-step listing presentation. For a lot of people, that's going to feel like, oh man, you may have missed your shot. You missed your window. That's not the case, though. And then the question is, well, why would I do that versus going for the win at the table in the first time around? Well, one of the things that you're doing is demonstrating to your sellers that you're listening, and that you're not going to rush into and force them into a price or terms and things of that nature, repairs, without really kind of listening to them first and understanding their needs, their goals, understanding the home and all the things that they've done. You talked about doing a tour, however long that's going to take. I think that's a really important thing. One of the things, though, that you said at the very beginning is you talked about asking great questions. It's an interesting thing. So you and I are both teachers, right? My foundation for teaching when I first started was, I'm going to tell you what you need to know. You're going to memorize it, and then you're going to regurgitate it on a test. Now you're going to forget about it as soon as you do. And then I went through this program. It was an MBA in entrepreneurship. And the professors were all these millionaires and billionaires. They weren't actual professors. They'd started and sold businesses. And they weren't allowed to make a statement in the classroom. They would be fired if they made a statement. They were only allowed to ask questions, right? A completely different paradigm. But it really turned me on to the 6 Socratic questions. If you're not familiar with the 6 Socratic questions, go Google it afterwards, because as a realtor, understanding how to ask powerful questions can oftentimes be the difference between A, whether or not you get the appointment, and B, whether or not you get the agreement at the appointment. So I want to dive in here back where we were just a second ago, and I want to start talking about, because you'd shared, with me in our prep call, you'd shared that you were hesitant about, do I even want to bring up this whole NAR thing? But at this point, we're really kind of forced to, because of the media and everything else. And by the way, agents, if you're not feeling as familiar and comfortable with talking about this, I'd really encourage you to go check out Holly and Lauren's big agent meetings that we did. There's a few of them back. You'll see their beautiful faces on the title cards, and you can dive into those. I really encourage you to go check out Holly's 2 master classes that she just did, one on buyers, one on sellers. Amazing content, really well done. She gives you great scripts. She talks you through our new forms and all of that. And by the way, you can find both of those in the Winning Clients. It's going to come out next week, I believe, from the university. But you said, you were hesitant, but now you are talking about it, and you talked about the misinformation. I'm curious, what is it that you're hearing from sellers at the kitchen table about buyer compensation, and how are they approaching it?
The consistent narrative that I've been hearing is this lawsuit was about lowering commissions.
Well, that's because that's the consistent headline in the media. I've seen that same headline over and over and over again. So what do you say to that? What's your approach?
And I always aim to just be really authentic with people and say, that's really helpful to hear. That's really helpful to hear that was a takeaway. And I try not to focus too much on where did you hear that and get in defensive mode.
Those idiots.
I try to just say, as I've been elected director at our board of realtors, and me, I'm an educator, former educator, and I love to dig into information, facts, and knowledge. And I just, sort of gently and genuinely shift it to, providing just very gentle, not accusatory, like you're wrong facts, and just gently steer it towards, the lawsuits were really based in a desire. I'm really happy that it's been based in a strong desire to provide more transparency in our contracts and in our systems. And so that's what I'm really excited about. And then it just it's not about right or wrong, because you never want to embarrass someone or make someone feel like they were stupid or wrong in a moment. And that's not, I don't blame clients, because you're right. Most of the national headlines have communicated that. So I then just quickly try to shift it to the opportunity for transparency in our new regulations and guidelines.
And in your conversations with those sellers, are they asking you, saying, I don't want to offer any compensation to the buy side or anything like that? So how do you address it, or do you address that in your conversations with them?
Yeah, it's getting harder without data. We used to be able to point to data in the MLS, but without that data, it's a little bit harder. But if anyone has ever learned or been familiar with the DISC profile, I know that it is not a be-all, end-all personality trait, characteristics for all situations. But there are some people that are a little bit more analytical. Some people are a little bit more systems. So it depends on, how maybe the client is presenting in that moment, what types of information might be more beneficial to them. I do use language that, there are some marketing strategies that are a little bit more common. I try to stay away from words like standard. But I focus on, there are marketing strategies or trends that are a little bit more common in our marketplace. And then I, again, try to shift it more towards asking them the question. That's why I love that you brought up how important asking questions are, reminding them that we're really going to need to identify what our driving need and goal is in this situation. And that's when I start wrapping in, the market issues that we're facing. And that, right now we're really in the Austin market needing to eliminate all of, every objection that we can. And, if we find that not offering a compensation or an offering to a buyer agent is, preventing some sort of barrier to traffic in our home, this is a lever that we're going to want to think through. So,
Yeah.
This what you might be hearing in terms of my hesitancy in answering this is that at the listing consultation, I am trying, other than right now in our Austin market, very clearly communicating to them that we are no longer in the seller's market that we were at during the pandemic.
No, we are
Everything
not.
else becomes I need to introduce topics to you that we will come back to and continue to educate, because there's a lot coming at them. And I know that they're not going to get everything the first time. So I want them at the listing consultation to begin to understand that agent fees is a marketing lever. It is a marketing strategy that we will talk about in our big picture goals.
Yeah. Well said.
And the not getting a listing, going back to what you said, this system serves the client, in my opinion. Getting a listing agreement signed at the first consult, in my opinion, only serves the agent and their ease of administration. And that approach I learned very early on does not serve my style, my holistic approach of serving. I never want families to be faced with the pressure of having to make a decision without having a private conversation between two individuals, or an individual that wants to meditate. I'm a slow decision-making overthinker, and I respect people that give me that space. And so that is how I want to, and I have the confidence to know how I'm going to win my clients, and I want to have that ease in that meeting.
Yeah, by the way, Leo Pereja, our CEO, is going to do an upcoming class for the EXP Executive Masterclass on the disc. So if you're not familiar with understanding that behavioral profile that Jill is talking about, do tune into that. Now, we have a luxury here in ABOR in our MLS that we have a yes/no option for seller concessions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Meaning that we can check that box and that other agents will know at least that's an option. But there's still craziness, and even in our market, of buyers calling up even before the showing, asking, are you offering concessions, and serve your seller's fiduciary best interest in those conversations. But I want to talk before we run out of time, because I think this is really key, about these 4 options. And can you share with them, like, first off, what the 4 options are, and then talk about how you present them with the net sheet?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So I deliver a custom pricing and marketing report for them 24 to 48 hours after our visit. And I've been talking about it at our listing appointment. And this system developed years ago in a different market, when I was getting sellers, when we were selling our homes too quickly, and I got the classic, "Oh, we priced it too low. We priced it too low." And I wanted to put the control in the seller's hands on where they wanted to price. Because if you talk to a real estate attorney, they're going to say a realtor shouldn't price a home. They are there to guide.
That's right.
So I never wanted my clients to tell me again, you mispriced the home and we walked away from money because you convinced us to do something. So I have 3, sometimes 4 options. Option 1 is always my, as is. What if you didn't have any time to prep the home? And this is an email that I send out, and it's a lengthy email, and I prep it saying this is going to be your hard copy, your Bible to come back and look at and use as a 1, 2, 3 guide in your decision-making process. So I deliver this, and I spend anywhere from 2 to 4 hours working on this, the delivery of this, because it is my custom plan that we use as a project management guide throughout the process in our decision making. So option 1, as is. What if you didn't have any time to prep your home and you just had to slap a sign in the yard? Because sometimes we have clients that, for their reasons, don't have time to do any prep. So I always want my clients to know a worst case scenario. What if I don't want to put any time in? So that's option 1, is as is. Option 2 is a make ready option. And then I will detail out, and I'll list option 1, 5:30, as is. And then I'll have a net sheet for that price point that includes, agent fees, different things that we talked about. And sometimes there'll be options in there. And that there's a possibility for multiple offers at that price point. I'll list out all of that. Option 2 is the make ready. What if we just decluttered, cleaned, and prepped the house, maybe did some light repairs. Maybe there's a leaking faucet or the HVAC needs to be serviced. I'll have a price for that, net sheet, to-do list there. Sometimes I'll give a little bit of a range if I think there needs to be a little bit of a range. Option 3 might be, what if you did an interior paint and added some floors or added a new, updated counters, or put that new roof on, or fix that, maybe a bigger thing. Sometimes I only have 3 options, so the third option might be the highest one. Sometimes the fourth option is, what if you completely remodel the house? What's the highest that you could get for your home? And sometimes that fourth option is and I'm doing this a little bit in Austin right now, what if we held? What if we rented the house for a year? What if you short-term rented it? What if you Airbnb'd the house? And I'll give them maybe a rental price. And those will, this pricing and marketing report for me, they have met, look, you're seeing Agent Jill and her expressiveness today. They have met my heart at the in-person listing appointment. But let me tell you, Teacher Jill is very detail-oriented and is very thoughtful, very organized, very much a high C in systems. So the pricing and marketing report, they are meeting Teacher Jill. And I am telling you, my pricing and marketing report pretty much seals the deal.
Well, what you're really showing them is your expertise as a listing agent, and giving them that sort of comfort level that, man, she's really kind of thought through all the various options and is really allowing us to drive. And yet you are being that great consultative guide.
Yeah. And it's a lengthy document. It's got all the options, all the net sheets. It's got a to-do list. I'm laying out my creativity and marketing plan, or I might talk about my different staging ideas. If they need contacts for repairs, I've got my handyman's. They get this like giant report and then they choose. Usually I get an email back from them within a day or two that says, they don't even say we're hiring you. They email me back and say, we're going with option 2. We need help with this. And we just jump in. Then I shift into contract, and then we go from there.
Different approach than a lot of folks are classically trained on, but a very effective approach, as your track record proves. Well, Jill, thank you so much for coming on and sharing this. Let's go grab coffee and talk about our teacher war stories. I've got a few. I'm sure you do too.
Thank you so much.
Friday to you. Thank you. All right, Russ, back over to you, my friend.
Righty. Good job, Jill. Amazing. I love that last part. Give them 4 options and let them choose their own thing, and then just the price that goes with it. That makes perfect sense. It's a brilliant way to approach that. I don't think I've ever heard that one before either, by the way. So
brilliant.
Very well done. Good. All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.